Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. I want to give you a story that has not really been told before. It's going to start more than 31 years ago when my partner was in trouble, emotionally. It happens, you know. When a human being in life going through the steps that you all go through, there's times of hand-wringing, of introspection, of sadness. You're in trouble. At that point in time, my partner was given information about a group that would pray with him. You have to understand that my partner believed in prayer. He had a good spiritual upbringing. In his church, he had seen the results of it. He knew it worked. But here was something he couldn't believe. That if he made a phone call, or even perhaps sent a letter, but he wanted a phone call, that somebody would be there in the middle of the night. That's when he did it. Silently, so no one else could hear him. Silently. He made the phone call, and there it was, a person, a woman. Very motherly she was, who was there to help. Didn't ask for money. Was interested in him. But more than that, she told him, let me take this to others. Let me take this to all of us. And I promise you, Lee, prayer works. I promise you, Lee, that I'm going to give it to those around me. And I promise you that for 30 days, 24/7, your request and your name will be on the lips of those who care about you in this place, in this place. He'll never forget that. This place was where he sits. It's now called, and was then, Silent Unity. It has today the same policies of compassion than it did then. Requests honored for 30 days in a circle. There's someone always praying for that person who called or mailed. He didn't know it then, dear ones, and this is the news I want to give you, that he had stepped right into pure Lemurian energy. Okay, Myrtle, we'll talk about it. You take a woman from the 1800s, what do you do with Lemurian information that comes roaring in through her Akash? Information that talks about the key to consciousness being compassion and kindness, not doctrine. What do you do with that? What do you do with information that says the leadership that is spiritual of the planet used to be women and changed, and you're going to make a change so that it returns that way? You see, Myrtle had an experience that had to be seen mostly by others for her to have credibility. In those days, there wasn't much credibility to any women, especially those who wanted a position of leadership spiritually. It simply wasn't done. It wasn't there. Myrtle, you see, was racked with disease. Horrible. All over her body. But she made a statement. And she said this: I am a child of God. A child of God. That means that I do not inherit sickness. That is so spiritually logical, and she was right on the money. And in that cognization, in that moment, she stepped into the circle of 12, which is Lemurian. And the spontaneous remission was complete. She didn't know it. But what was carried in her cellular structure in the DNA was inheritable. And her daughters were clean as well. As soon as she received this spontaneous remission, and it got attention. It got attention. And she said, what can I do to start an organization, a church perhaps, a group, where the central key would all be about kindness and compassion? And how is it going to be paid for? The only way to pay for it is to have a church around it. She saw it. Now, this is not something you're going to read about, dear ones. And she wants me to say this because it was true. She started it. Charles thought she was nuts. You hear the story about the Fillmore. Some say they were channelers. Huh? He was brought on board, not through the love of his wife, but through the love of God. It's hard not to have that when you see it around you and you see she was right. She was right. And what you see here was the result of Lemurian energy, because her Akash awakened. You might say she was one of the first to make an imprint about the way things might be, to return to a time that made sense. And the thrust of it was kindness, compassion, and women's leadership spiritually. The first ordained ministers of this church, women. More women than men. Everyone was open to it, but the ones who resounded first were women. She was the first. And then it started. To this day, if you take a look at the gender balance of pastors, if you want to call them that, of leaders of the Unity Church, all over the world, women are the predominant ones. And dear ones, this is the Lemurian way. And she knew it. This is the information that Myrtle would like you to know. That this was the agenda. Through compassion and through kindness, through the love, the most loving spiritual system she could find, she started the church to pay for that which was the prayer tower. And it worked, and to this day it continues to work. Dear ones, she has not reincarnated because she stayed right on this property. She's here now to look over us, to bless us, the us being all those in this room, including my partner. I know Myrtle. And she's just filled with appreciation and compassion as she continues to steward this place. Difficulties are ahead, Myrtle, because the shift may very well start to change what happens here, but change it perhaps in a good way. The modernization that has been resisted simply occurs because it occurs. You don't necessarily have to call or email anymore, or even mail anymore, because now there's an app for it. You didn't expect that, did you, Myrtle? Well, there's other things you won't expect that are very Lemurian that will be here. Expect that to go from a place of kindness and compassion to a place that does more than simply heal the emotions of those in trouble or help them with their physicals. Expect perhaps a healing tower, because this is where it's going. New energies are starting to appear that could not be here, Myrtle, until the shift. You foresaw it, a church, a tower, a system of compassion that would last more than 100 years and sail into the shift if it ever happened. And that's when you would get your due. Myrtle was from Lemuria. She had a star mother, much like Meliha, destined to come in at a time when women were not listened to and create a spiritual system led mostly by women. What an achievement. Is it any wonder that this place rings with compassion, kindness, gratitude, faith? Is it no wonder that when you step on this campus, you feel something you can't feel anywhere else, because she is still here? Oh, Charles, oh, he went on. He went on to lives of reincarnation, oddly enough, to be with other women he thought were crazy. Men need to be there to support these women and see they're right. Dear ones, I wanted to share that with you so you knew where you sat today and who might be here. She walks these halls all the time, and you can feel her presence all the time. The crazy Lemurian. That's it for now. Spirit blesses this place because it is revolutionary. And so it is.